Hey everyone, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to explain how to read and analyze the wiring diagrams on Suzuki vehicles. If you have been following the videos, you already know that we have some other videos for reading and analyzing the wiring diagram for Nissan, Toyota, Lexus, Ford, Hyundai, and Kia, and more. But some of you asked me to make a video for Suzuki wiring diagrams as well. Generally, reading and analyzing the diagram car by car is not that different, but sometimes there are some slight differences. So having more information about that specific car that you are after might be very helpful. So in this video, I'm going to explain everything step by step for reading and analyzing the diagram on Suzuki vehicles, and I will try to have a practical approach as well. So I'm going to explain it in a way that you guys can use it for diagnostic purposes. So I will start by showing you the wiring diagrams and how to find all the information that you need for diagnostic purposes. And I'm going to take the camera on the car as well by using the very same diagram from a Suzuki. We will see how we can use the information from the diagram to find the relevant pins and the wires on the car and how to do the diagnostic using the information that we have found. So it's going to be a combination of working on the diagram and on the car. And at the end of the video, after practicing on the car, I will explain how to read and analyze the starting system wiring diagram to see how we can actually follow the current flow to get the information that we need for diagnosing a system. I have selected the starting system because it's very important and at the same time it's not very complicated, so it's easy to understand. So as usual, before starting the video, if you guys haven't subscribed the channel yet, please don't forget to subscribe. And if you are interested to learn more about Diagnostic, you can find the link to our online courses in the video description. So right now you see a section of wiring diagram on the screen, and I'm going to use this one for explaining everything right here and on the car. Before talking about the diagram itself, I'm pretty sure that many of you will ask how to find a wiring diagram for Suzuki vehicles. Still, like many other cars, there are some websites that you can find the wiring diagrams over there for some sort of monthly or yearly subscription. I normally get the wiring diagrams that I need from the dealership. But as I said, if you search online, you will find some websites selling their diagrams. But as I explained on my previous videos, whatever diagram that we have in PDF format, already uploaded them on our website, so you can go there and you can download them for free. For Suzuki, for this specific car, which is a Suzuki Alto 2012, I have the diagram for engine control system in PDF format, and you can find a link to that wiring diagram in the video description. By using the link, you can find the wiring diagram on our website and you can download it for free. This is only one wiring diagram, but I will try to do my best to find more wiring diagram from Suzuki in PDF, so you guys will have access to more and more cars. As I said at the beginning, right here you see just one section of the wiring diagram for engine control system. So whatever we have here, you can actually apply to other part of the diagram as well. The first thing that we need for reading the diagram is to identify the components to see what are these components actually. So as you see at the middle, this component is named as ECM, which is engine control module. We have the electric throttle body here. This is APP, or accelerator pedal position sensor. Down here we have AC refrigerant pressure sensor. This one is electric load current sensor. And here we have some references to other pages. So as soon as we found the components, we need to know how these components are connected to each other. Of course, on each connector we have one or more connector, and the connector can be shown in this way. That E01 that you see is actually the connector code. If they are shown with just one arrow like this means that the connector is actually on the component. But if you see double arrows like this means between the connector and the component there is just a piece of wiring. You will see something like this sometimes on the knock sensors or sometimes on crankshaft position sensor, because they are located on some areas which is really hard to reach. That's why sometimes we have a piece of wire between the connector and component, so it's going to be much easier for us to reach to the connector for diagnostic purposes. On this connector that we are looking right now, there is a wire that I will explain later on how to find the wires by looking at the color codes. This wire goes all the way to reach to the APP sensor. It means there is no connector in between. You see, just there is one solid wire. But sometimes in between, like here, we have a connector. So that connector is going to be a combination of a male and female connector. That's why we have two codes in here. One of them is referring to the male and one of them to the female connector. I already told you that each wire is seated inside the connector and the connector code is just next to them. That C01 is the name of the connector that this wire is connected to. But right now, if you look at this side of the diagram, you see the C01 is just mentioned next to this wire, but the other wires, they just have the pin numbers. These small numbers are pin numbers. So in this case, if you look at here, you see this broken line, which is connecting all these pins together. This actually represents that all these wires are seated in the same connectors. This is actually to avoid repeating the connector code again and again. By having this broken line, we are showing that all these wires are connected to this connector. Exactly like what you see here. These two wires, pin number 5 and 7, because they are connected with this broken line, it means they are both inside the B15 connector. But if you look at here, 3 wires are connected with a broken line. It means they are connected to C01 connector. But we have a cut on broken line and the other wires are connected in another line. This is actually when we have several connectors. For example, this wire is connected to connector B14. And because there is no broken line, the next wire is seated into another connector. This shows that we have several connectors. For example, here we have connector C01 and E01. Same at the top. APP sensor wiring is connected to E01 connector and throttle position sensor wiring is connected to C01 connector. Let's see what more information we can get from the connector codes. For example, right here, we have 2 connectors. One is male, one is female. We're going to have more details in this section. This is not exactly for that specific connector. This is just a guide. That's why the connector code between this one and here are different. But this one shows exactly a female and male connector on the wiring. You see the male connector is shown at the top and female connector code is shown at the bottom. And this is how we number the connectors. For finding the pin numbers that we have on each wire, on Suzuki, we need to look at the connector from this point of view. Because on some companies, the pin numbers are shown from the back of the connector, but here we need to look from the face of the connector to identify the pin numbers. In the wiring diagram, there's a section for connector details. So you have the connectors listed in different categories. For example, C connectors, E connectors, G connectors, like that. They are listed in one section of the wiring diagram, so you can actually go there and look for the connector that you are after by the connector code. This is actually one example that you see right now on the screen. This is the connector details, the C connector details, which is generally for the engine wiring harness. And there's also one section that shows you the connector locations. We're going to use this detail later on for finding some connectors as well when we are doing the practical on the car. On the connector code, the first letter shows the type of wiring harness that we have. For example, C is for the engine harness, B is for the AC harness, and so on. And the second part, which is the number, is gonna show you the connector number. But the combination is gonna be unique for each connector. So when you search it on the connector detail, you will find exactly what you want. So we already got the information for the connectors. We know how to find the connectors and how to read them. But inside the connector, we have several wiring. And for finding each wire, not only we need the pin numbers that we already have, we need the color code as well. On this wiring diagram, everything is in color. Of course, it's really easy to identify the color of each wire. But on some wiring diagram, wires are in black and white, so it's really hard to identify them. So that's actually why we need the color code. So this is the table of wire color and the symbols on Suzuki. It's not very different from the other cars, but you may have 2 different symbols. For example, for black, you may have B or you may have BLK. For light blue, you may have LTBLU or you may have LBL. So this is actually a little different from other cars because other cars, they have actually 1 symbol, but here you may have 2 symbols. It's not very complicated, as I said, but sometimes it's really good to know. The color of the wire could be solid, could be only one color like this one. It's only yellow. But on this wire, we have two colors. The base color of the wire is LTGRN, which is light green. But we have the red strip on the wire as well. Right now, let's have a look at the more specific side of the wiring diagram. This is exactly the area that we are going to practice on the car. And that's going to be the electric throttle body. So on the throttle body itself, as you see, we have one connector, which is C48. You see the connector detail in here. And the other side of this wiring is inside the connector C01, which is this one. This is the connector on ECM. And the location of these two connectors are shown in here as well. So C48 is just right here. And if you follow it, it's going to go all the way to the back of the engine. And C01 is shown right here, which is the ECM connector. So we have all the details, all the pin numbers as well. But let's find more information. Let's identify all these wires before going on the car. We're going to start by looking at the throttle body connector, which is C48. The connector itself is located right here. This is exactly what we found on the connector locations. So let's disconnect the connector. And as you see, we have 6 wires on the connector, exactly as we have in here. So we're going to identify the wires one by one right now to see how we can use the diagram to find the wires. This is a better view of that connector. Let's start from pin number 1. So pin number 1, which is a green wire on the diagram, it's exactly green wire on the connector as well. So this is the output voltage of main throttle position sensor. Of course, inside this throttle body, we have 2 sensors, which are called main and sub sensor. On many cars, they are called TPS1 and TPS2, or sensor 1 and sensor 2. But here they are called main and sub sensor. Pin number 2, which is this red wire, is the power supply for both sensors. So it's just one common wire for providing 5-volt supply to main and sub sensors. Pin number 3, which is this white wire, exactly like the connector. This is the output voltage of sub sensor. Pin number 4, which is black, is the common ground for both sensors. We reach to pin number 5, which is a light green wire with red strips. This one is for throttle body actuator, and the last wire that we have on pin number 6 is yellow. This one is for controlling the throttle body actuator as well. So as you see, wiring diagram is exactly like the connector that we have on the throttle body. So it wasn't really hard to identify and locate the wires. So if you are doing the diagnostic on the throttle body, this is exactly what you need. For example, if you are checking the power supply on the throttle body, you just need to check the power supply on pin number 2. If you want to check the output voltage, you need to check the output voltage of main sensor on pin number 1 and output voltage of the sub sensor on pin number 3. So wiring diagram is going to make it a lot easier. But right now we're going to go on the car to find a couple of these wires on the throttle body side and on the ECM side to see how we can check the wires end by end. For example, if you are thinking that there could be an open circuit on the wiring, let's say on the throttle body actuator side, you need to find each end of the wiring and check them with multimeter. This is exactly what we will do just in a second. This pin number 5 and 6, they are for the throttle body actuator. If we start from pin number 5, you see that pin number 5 on the throttle body is connected to this wire, light green with red strips, and this is the location inside the connector itself. But the other end of this wire is connected to the ECM connector, which is C01, which is this one, and it's inside the pin number 55. This is the pin number 55. So this is the first thing that we will find on the wiring. We will find each end of this wiring, 5 and 55, when connectors are disconnected. Then we can check the open circuit with multimeter. The other wire of the throttle body actuator is connected to this yellow wiring, which is pin number 6 on the throttle body connector, and the other end of this wire is seated inside the connector C01 on pin number 56. So if we find these 2 pins, we can do the diagnostic on this side of the wiring as well. Let's go on the car. We're going to find these wires and we will see how we can do the diagnostic on them. So ECM is here. We have two connectors on the ECM. The connector that we are looking for right now is C01 that I explained earlier. So it's going to be this connector down there. So I take the connector out. So this one is the connector that we are after. If you are going to check the wiring between the throttle body actuator and ECM, you need to find pin number 5 and 6 on the throttle body. I'm gonna go for pin number 5 right now, which is this wire. I back probe it from here. So this is pin number 5. And as you see on the diagram, this pin number 5 is connected to pin number 55 on C01 connector on ECM. You see the connector details again on the screen. So down here we have pin number 49 starting from the left and all the way to pin number 56 to the very right. So this is exactly what that connector details tell us. And as I said at the beginning, connector details shows us everything from this point of view. So basically based on the connector detail, I'm looking for pin number 55, which is the other end of that wire which is connected to the throttle body actuator, which is going to be just right here. So this test probe is really thin. It's not going to damage the pin if you insert it from here. Of course, you can insert it from the back as well, but from here it's not going to damage the pin itself. So right now we are going to check the open circuit on the wire connected to pin number 5 of the throttle body, and the other end of that wire is seated to pin number 55 of C01 connector on ECM. If we have found the pins correctly on the multimeter, we should have the continuity. Of course, if wire is good. So I'm gonna put one end of multimeter right here and the other end right here on the ECM side. So as you see, I'm getting the continuity and resistance value is less than 1 ohm. It means we found the wire and pins correctly. So this is basically how you use the diagram and all the details provided to find everything. If I go for another wire, like pin number 6 of the throttle body actuator, which is just right here, this yellow wire, I insert the test probe right there. So multimeter black probe is right there as well. This one that we inserted the test probe is 55. The next one is 56. I'm going to insert the test probe on 56. And if I test the continuity right now, I still have the continuity on the other end of the throttle body actuator. Right now that we have all the details that we wanted, let's go for reading an actual wiring diagram for a full circuit. And that's going to be the starting system. This is the starting system for this exact car that we were working on, which is Suzuki Alto 2012. As I said, the first thing that you need to do is to identify the components. So this component at the top is the ignition switch. These two are the fuses that I will explain what they do. This is the starter motor relay. We have the starter motor down here. Transaxle range switch that we might need is shown in here as well, and the rest is the wiring. Let's see how we can read this diagram. After identifying the wires for reading and analyzing the waveform, we're not going to start from the starter motor or starter relay. We need to start from the point that we send the command to the system. And the starting system will be activated when we turn the ignition switch to start position. By turning the ignition switch to start position, we are actually sending the power from here through this low amp fuse to the starter relay. This fuse is a 10 amp fuse, which is inside the interior fuse box. So power from here is going to travel to reach to the starter relay. A starter relay is inside the engine fuse box, which is named individual circuit fuse box number 1. So number 2 is inside the car. This is number 1. So this high amp fuse and the starter relay, they both are located inside the engine fuse box. So back in here, we already have the power supply provided on the coil side of the relay, and that comes from the ignition switch. For activating the relay on the coil side of the relay, the other side should be connected to the ground, which is already connected to the ground. This is going to magnetize the starter relay. By having the relay magnetized, this switch will be closed. So voltage from this high amp fuse is going to travel all the way from here through the closed switch to the starter motor itself. Inside the starter motor, this section is representing the starter solenoid, and this is the starter motor itself. These two coils are pull-in and holding coils. We have a video on the channel that I explain everything about the pull-in and holding coils, how they work and how to diagnose them. You can find that video on the channel. But in between, we have some other references as well. So you see this section can be replaced with this section. In what circumstances? You have reference A and reference B, which are shown at the top. A is for manual transmission, B is for automatic transmission. So if you have a car with manual transmission, you're going to have this wiring diagram, exactly what I explained. But if you have a car with automatic transmission, this section will be replaced with this part. And you will have the transaxle wrench switch in here as well, which is very important for a starting system, because on a car with automatic transmission, we are able to crank the engine only on park or neutral position. So if transmission is located on drive or reverse, we won't be able to crank the engine, and that comes from here. So it's going to be like this. Power from the relay is going to reach to this point if we have a car with automatic transmission, and it's going to get into the transaxle wrench sensor. If gear shifter is on the park or neutral, power from here or from this point is going to travel all the way to the starter motor. There is another reference in between as well. If your car is right-hand drive, the wiring color is going to be as you see. If your car is left-hand drive model, the wiring color could be different, which is shown in here. This is to avoid any sort of confusion. Thank you very much, guys, for watching. I hope this video was helpful. As I said, we have many other videos for reading and analyzing the diagrams and for diagnosing different components. You can find those videos on the channel. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to share it with your friends and like the video. And please don't forget to subscribe the channel to get the notification when we upload new videos. Thank you very much for watching.